Top of the evening, everybody. Chris McDonald with you on a Friday night, the 24th day of January, 2025. No weird hats tonight, just me. But
you understand the words
hang
that
on
are
just a
coming out
second.
of my
Whoa,
mouth?
whoa, whoa. I said no weird hats. I didn't mention there would be no weird memes. Just me tonight, but I do have my No Longer Silent shirt on. And we're grateful for you being here tonight on a Friday night. And what a wonderful day we had today. It's been exhausting. I won't lie to you. It's been very, very cold. It was worth every minute of it. I was at the Right to Life March today. If you were with us on Facebook, we posted several videos. Well, 2 or 3. Yeah, we posted J.D. Vance's speech. President Trump's had a video speech right before Vance came on. He was busy in North Carolina and California. We're going to talk about that tonight. And then we had a few thoughts ourselves, and then we took out on the streets and walked a good bit for the Right to Life March. It was a long journey, but I tell you, that cold today, it was still, even though it was a little warmer, we couldn't have probably done it Monday. It was the temperature today was in the mid-30s during the day with the sun out, but it was still just a bone-chilling cold. But, you know, it's funny that Washington Monument Park was absolutely packed. I would guess, I'm sure people will be estimating the crowd. I would put it at 10,000 at least, maybe more. Because that park was elbow to elbow again this year. We'll say more about that a little bit later tonight. But just a couple of quick news notes. Let me just say this. We're grateful to have everybody tonight. We will take your questions at some point, and we will probably have to do the same thing tonight we did last night a little bit. This internet, they've got us on a timer here, so if we pause for a minute and have to reinstitute the internet, don't fret. We'll be here and have to come back. I don't know why they don't just give you the internet for the whole week and, you know, don't have to do this every night, but it's just hotels, and that's how it is. We've been so grateful to have you be with us on these shows in D.C. Hope the microphone is helping. Let me push it a little bit closer to me. Maybe you can hear me better, and so forth. We are grateful to have you tonight. We do have some breaking news coming out of the Senate tonight. You know, it's a disgraceful shame. Pete Hegseth's going to get basically approved by the Senate with a 51-50 vote. 3 Republicans, and I don't even call them Republicans. Mitch McConnell betrayed Hegseth at the last minute tonight, and I think it was just out of spite, nothing else. He voted no in Pete's confirmation hearing, hearing tonight. Vance is there, and he sort of hung around D.C. just in case Mitch pulled this very thing. You Kentucky people, please make sure that this man does not see the inside of a Senate chamber come 2026. Please. Y'all need to recall him, to be frank with you. You people in Alaska, Lisa Murkowski, there's no reason why Lisa Murkowski, and this is the hypocrisy of Lisa Murkowski, when Rachel Devine, which was really a man, but he transitioned to a woman, and he was being put over the health department of this country, she wholeheartedly supported all of Biden's nominees. She had no problem supporting Ketanji J. Brown, but yet she voted against Brett Kavanaugh. And she was an instigator in the slanderous lies that Kathleen Bosley Ford brought forth. Lisa Murkowski was part of that mob. And these things, folks, I'm telling you something, there is a sense, and I got it today in the crowd. I was listening to people talk. There's a sense that this nonsense is going to stop. The American people are tired of what we're seeing going on even in the Senate hall tonight. And if Mitch thinks that he can keep doing this stuff, he's mistaken. I understand Susan Collins. I know we talk about Susan Collins in Maine, and I think it's a given that Susan Collins, because she did not vote for Hexteth. She claimed it was experience. And she is in a New England state, and it is very unusual that Maine would have a Republican senator, and the Senate needs that seat. It really does. It needs that Republican seat. And if Collins goes against this liberal Loonbaum mob up in Maine, even though she registers as a Republican, it can get her in trouble. But what was sad about it, we had a 53-47 majority in the Senate tonight. We only needed to get one of those three, McConnell, Murkowski, or her, to vote for Hexteth. He would have been nominated with no problem. But Mitch threw the thing. Murkowski enrages me the most because of what she did vote for under Biden. And you Alaska folks, again, it's 6 hours behind us tonight. I don't know if y'all are listening out there, but please, for God's sake, of your state and this country, primary her. And not only that, recall her. She's not representing your state. I do not believe that the state of Alaska is pleased with the representation that they're getting in the Senate. And these rhino Republicans, and I know people call them rhinos. They're not rhinos. They're just plain Democrats. Mitch McConnell is Joe Biden in drag. He is Joe Biden in drag. And these demagogues that have been in there all these decades, and his mind is not working right. He's had a couple of strokes, and he is unfit for office. But, you know, I watched John Thune this morning, and John Thune, I want to just give a shout out to Senator Thune. He's the Senate Majority Leader, Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, and there were several other representations today, representatives and senators from the Congress that was at the Right to Life March, and I really deeply personally appreciated seeing them. Their remarks were powerful. Senator Thune's remarks were powerful. We played it. If you saw the coverage, we were able to play. We couldn't play the whole rally before the march. We tried to pick the strategic parts, but we played the comments from the senators. And I respect Thune and Johnson for coming. I really do. It meant a lot to me personally, and I think it meant a lot to the crowd there. He was standing again in frigid cold weather, but yet the senators chose to take time out of their day to come down there and encourage the Right to Lifers. But he said something this morning that made a lot of sense. And he said that, you know, they understand Susan Collins. They get it. They get Susan Collins. They're not that upset because they need that Senate seat to be Republican, because the majority in the Senate gives the senators who rules these committees. Like if you have even if Susan Collins gets voted out, well, that's not good, because if that seat goes Democrat, then if the Democrats take control of the Senate, they control the committees. If it's better to have a rhino in Susan Collins, or somebody that's just never going to vote Republican. You know they're not going to vote. At least you know what you got. And still have the power, the balance of power in the Senate, and then to have a Democrat holding that Senate seat. Murkowski's a situation that I don't understand. I don't understand that. McConnell he's just a bitter, desperate, loser old man. He reminds me of Lamar Alexander, of my home state of Tennessee. Well, not from there originally, but it's where I live right now. Lamar Alexander went out the same way. John McCain went out the same way. All of them. And this bitterness and this anger at Trump, and he is not going to, you know, and what Thune said this morning, he said, I don't care if they vote no, but just tell us that you are going to do that. And evidently, there were agreements in place. And Thune told Fox this morning, he said, I think that we're going to have a 51-49 majority, and we won't need Vice President Vance, because in the Senate, if you have 50-50, the Vice President casts the deciding vote. Well, they've had to use J.D. Vance tonight, thanks to Mitch. And this burns me to the core. because both Mitch and Lisa voted for a transgender, basically health leader over this country with no problem, no conscience whatsoever. Mitch McConnell, I remember him standing up on January the 6th of 21 and screaming into that microphone that elections matter and we need to honor elections, and people have spoken with no question of whether the election had any malfeasance. Never. And yet when Trump does something he don't like, he's quick to that microphone criticizing Trump, the legitimacy of his presidency. That's what bitterness will do. In politics, there's nothing uglier. I had a great privilege tonight. We've had a good trip up here. I'm glad I'm going home tomorrow. I'm ready to get back home and so forth. But it's been a good week. I didn't get to do as much as I wanted to do. A lot of that had to do with the weather and things. But we met some of our dear friends, Brad Johnson, Miss Emily Courtney, her family. This week we had a chance to visit with them, and then we had tonight. I felt I was driving in this morning to the march, and the Lord laid Marcia Montenegro on my heart, and I said, Marcia lives around here. I need to check with her, and I did, and I sent her a message, and she realized that when I said, "Where you at?" and she told me the city in Falls Church, and I said, "Well, my goodness," I said, "that's where I'm at." And I said, I'd like to say hello to you in person. And she was just excited. And come to find out, there's a little restaurant, little cafe just like 2 minutes from my hotel here. And she lives like 5 minutes from that. And it was God-ordained meeting tonight. We had the absolute best time. We're going to have her back on February the 5th on our Wednesday night Faith Chat. She is going to rock the house. Andy Griffin, by the way, a pro-life man, the one that gave me this shirt. I got something to say about this later. This shirt, what it means to me. He's going to be with us this Wednesday night, and we're going to talk about this Right to Life March. But I want to go back to Mitch. This is what makes Washington, D.C. so horrible. And this is why the people of America voted the way they did in November to stop this. And these absolute useless losing Republicans do not get the message. The Dems don't get the message. The Dems are trying to hinder everything Trump's doing tonight. And there was a sense in this crowd today that Trump's not just back, but he's different. He's got more of a unified country behind him. And I'm telling these people point blank tonight, I don't believe Trump is perfect. I don't worship Trump. But the man is one of the greatest presidents we've ever had. And Ron DeSantis had some very choice words this afternoon about this birthright citizenship, and I'm so proud of Governor DeSantis. And he basically said that the New York Times got religion. They found Jesus overnight because in their editorial last night, they were screaming about the fact that this birthright citizenship thing, that the question, the headline was, well, what are we going to tell the Hispanic woman whose unborn baby does not have a right to citizenship? And we showed you this last night. In fact, I'll show you the headline. We showed you the hypocrisy of this last night. I got to get my glasses on here real quick. And so forth, because this is amazing how that they framed this issue with the birthright citizenship matter, and yet in the abortion matter, they call the fetuses a fetus. They don't call it a baby, but yet when it comes to illegal immigration and the illegal aliens, the New York Times has no problem basically saying that, hey, we got to make sure that we protect the unborn baby. And Ron DeSantis made a great point today. He said, my God, he said, we want to welcome the New York Times to the pro-life movement because they're just like y'all. We're fighting. Y'all are fighting for the unborn babies' lives, and the New York Times is too. It's just amazing. This is Mike Davis last night. We talked about this, but when he said it today, I remembered this from last night. Mike Davis posted this. He said, the New York Times, when peddling abortions, they call it fetus. But when they're peddling their illegal alien whine, and that's what it was yesterday, this pathetic whine about Trump doing his job and doing what we should have been doing all along. By the way, nearly 538 illegal aliens have been deported in the last 48 hours, and we're just getting started. We're just getting started. But I want you to look at that. That's a manipulative headline. I want you to look at this is the state of the left. This, too, the American people are tired of. I've sensed it today. I listened to people and just the attitude. There was a difference in the air today in D.C. I drove through the city for the first time. I've not been here since 21. I was telling a dear buddy I met, Miller, I don't know if you're out there. His name was Jason. He wasn't Miller. Jason Miller's not been replaced, but the Lord sent another Jason I had to park 2.5 miles from the event, and he happened to be parked in the same garage. And I walked, and I looked at him and said, "Hey, do you know how to get to the Right to Life thing?" Because the venue had changed from last year. He said, "Yeah, I'm going there too." So we walked, and we got to talk. He's from Long Island, so he's Dory's neighbor up there. And but he was basically telling me how this was his first Right to Life march. And he was telling me that the New York atmosphere had changed since Trump had gotten in. And I was telling him as I was driving in today, I saw there were several streets in D.C. that still looked like that nobody had cleaned them. There was trash. The city in certain places was just, it looked like California. I'll just call it like it is. It looked like California. That's Joe Biden. They didn't care about this city. They didn't care about taking care of Washington. The mayor here don't care about the city looking presentable. And I thought to myself, this is going to change. There's a change in the wind. And people were upbeat today. They were optimistic. But this shows you how evil and how wicked the left is, and how wicked these people are framing what we did today and framing the illegal alien situation. And 538 of them found out pretty quick that Donald Trump means what he says, and Tom Homan means what he says. And the Pope needs to stick to be an apostate Pope and keep his nose out of our business. Tom Homan is good as said that tonight. I don't care if the Pope calls it un-American and a disgrace. It's none of your business, Pope. It would be in your best interest to find an altar and repent instead of sticking your nose where it don't belong. We'll handle the illegal aliens in our country. Why don't you handle the pedophilia in your country? Since we're talking about birthright and babies, why don't you handle your priest sodomizing kids? You do that, and I tell you what, when you handle that and take care of that, and me and you'll talk about how we handle our illegals over here. Pope, I have nothing but disgust for him. I love you Catholics. This is not a Catholic bash, but I have nothing but disgust. Disgust for the hierarchy of the Catholic Church. And I say that without blinking. New York Times, is the fetus a person? In other words, they question whether the baby in an unborn baby in a woman's womb that they believe a woman has a right to kill, well, they don't look at that as a baby. They look at that as a fetus. They say that's an anti-abortion. They say we anti-abortion people say, strategy says, yes, that it is a person. And we do. We proudly tell you it's a person. I heard this over and over and over and over today, that life begins at conception. You know, do you realize in 6 weeks a couple can see the baby's heartbeat? They can take a sonogram. They may not see the whole baby formed by then, but they can literally see the heart beating of a baby 6 weeks in, 3 weeks in. God knows when that heart's beating. And let me tell you something, friend. That's a person. That's a life. What did he tell Jeremiah? We're going to be preaching on this Sunday morning, by the way. Before you were even formed in the womb, I knew you by name. Israel delved into child sacrifice, just like America has delved into it. And I'll say it again tonight, as I said last night, folks, there is no golden age coming to America until we stop pedophilia, until we stop this baby killing, until we put an end to it. And the word, it was used over and over today, life while we march, and until abortion becomes unthinkable in this country, until abortion becomes unattainable in this country, until abortion becomes a thing of the past, and that was just over. We're going to march. We'll stand out in the storms. We'll stand out in the cold weather. We'll march in snow. We'll march whenever. I found a newfound commitment this morning and this afternoon to marching for the babies. And I got to say this about the Right to Life movement. It's not a scold, but this ain't a political exercise. I think having J.D. Vance there was awesome. Having those senators there were awesome. But there's a lot of name recognition, and it's all about the pizzazz. And as wonderful a movement as it is, it's not perfect. It's delved into politics, and it's not a criticism. But I would say this to the Right to Life movement: your purity, the purpose of why you're doing what you're doing. The people that were standing out there today don't care how many likes you get on YouTube. We don't care about your personality or who's famous and what all that you do on your social media accounts. I heard that a lot today about the social media. Let me tell you something. God doesn't care about the social media posts. He cares about the babies. And that movement needs to get back to the purity of that it's fighting for the babies. I wasn't standing out there to listen to the personalities of the Right to Life movement. I was standing out there in that cold for one thing, weeping in that weather, listening to these stories for those babies. In New York Times, let me tell you something. You blanking right. It's not a fetus. It's a person. But the New York Times, who says that's not true, when they're arguing the illegal alien situation and an unaccompanied documented woman that comes in with a pregnant child, and her purpose to come in pregnant or have a baby while she's here is to give her citizenship to that baby. And I'll say it tonight, just like we said it last night, folks. If the mother's illegal and the daddy's illegal, that baby's illegal. Now, I know that just flies in the face. I heard Anthony Scaramucci, the biggest loser in America. He's a piece of absolute liberal turd. And he said out there today, he said, well, this is the most un-American thing since the post-Civil War that Donald Trump's done. It's not un-American. No, not a bit. Not a bit. 538 illegals are finding out pretty quick that we're all about America. We're all about you not being here. You here illegally, you ain't got no rights. That's just the way I look at it. Folks, and I ask you a question tonight, and I'll get to your comments later. Listen, let me tell you this. You go down to Mexico. Go down to Guatemala. Why don't you go to North Korea? Why don't you take a little Shangri-La trip to Cuba? Let me just give you another country. Let's just say you go to Poland or France or Germany or, well, maybe not so much Germany and England because they're all about illegals too. You might get away with it there. But go to a third world country. Go to Iran. I want to go tour the Middle East. I'm going to go to Saudi Arabia, and I ain't going to come back. I want to move to the Middle East, so I ain't going to take a passport. I ain't going to go and apply for citizenship. I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to take my family, and I'm going to just drop in on the Saudis, and I'm going to just be an illegal. Let me tell you something. You won't have a head in 2 weeks. Your head will be pretty much lopped off. You understand that? We can't get... Nobody in this nation would get away in any other nation with what we're allowing these illegals to do here. Thanks to people like Mitch McConnell and Lisa Murkowski and other spineless Republicans. I'm actually disappointed that Fetterman didn't vote for Hexteth. I was hoping that he would, but he didn't. But this is what we're up against. And it all plays into the babies. It plays into the illegals. It plays into these nominations. And I just sensed it today in that crowd that the American people are tired of this mess. We're just tired. We are tired. And we're going to fight for these babies. And we're going to fight for people being here legally. And we got more to talk about that. But I just wanted to see the evil hypocrisy. And I love what Ron DeSantis said today. The New York Times found Jesus. He wanted to welcome them to the world of the pro-lifers, because y'all are preaching what the pro-lifers have been preaching forever, that baby's a human being in the womb. But they're peddling their illegal alien stuff. We're peddling life for the woman. All right, now, are you with me tonight? Good to see everybody. I haven't even checked into the chat room to make sure y'all are out there, but we're grateful that you are tonight. And we hope that you are having a good evening with us. And we got a good crowd, 143. Let's see here. Good to see Miss Kathy McDonald in the house. Teresa Sterner in the house. Good to see you. Some other folks we hadn't seen in a while. Good to see everybody. I don't have all the same. Hello, Jody. Jody's in the house. Good to see y'all. And good to see y'all. Listen, we're grateful you're with us tonight. A couple of other quick things, and we're going to take your questions. We're going to take your questions. Speaking of Mr. Trump, I mentioned the illegals. This is, I'm going to get to his North Carolina visit. I'm going to hang on to that. Just bear with me, because we got a lot to say about that. He's doing a great job in North Carolina tonight. And the thing he did for the North Carolinians, I salute President Trump. We'll talk about that in a minute. Here are some of the 538 illegals. They're getting a one-way trip back to Mexico. And they were asking one of them, they were asking, you didn't see that. David Harris Jr. posted this. You know what that guy just said? He's going back to Mexico, and they said, what do you think about all this? He said, I'm going to go back and tell my fellow friends that this is just not a good time to cross. This ain't a good time to cross. And that's from the New York Post. I'm going to play that again. That's them going back. By the way, we use the military to do it. And I got something to say about that. Let me tell you something. You know, we were being told all along by the left that to use the military to do this would be tantamount on martial law, or it would be a precedent we didn't want to set with the military being involved in citizenship. Let me just give the left a little civics lesson. These people ain't citizens. These people ain't citizens. They've invaded our country. They're an invading force. So your attempt to put guilt on any government with a brain in its head, like this one's got finally, falls short. And again, the people out there, I can guarantee you this afternoon that was not the sentiment among close to 10 to 20, 30,000 people standing in 30-degree cold weather, and it was bone cold today. That wind was blowing. It was bone cold. And my legs, even tonight, are pretty stiff from standing out there today. It was a long day, but it was worth it. But I'm going to tell you something. There was a resolve in that crowd. We're tired of this crap. We're tired of it. And I think this audience is tired of it. I think that this group, this McFile family, is tired of it. I see it in your comments. We got something called a brain. They're not citizens. So if we need to use the military to get these people out, have at it. Have at it. Do it. Do it. It's for the best. They deserve to go back. But the guy was saying, I don't think it's a good idea for y'all to cross over right now. I'll agree with him. I'll absolutely agree with that. I totally will agree with that. Here is the Marines, by the way. Speaking of that, here's the Marines right there. They are going and helping this to the U.S. They're on the border assisting the Border Patrol with the mission to secure America. And there you can see the people being put on those helicopters and planes. Adios, amigo. Adios, amigo. I just wanted to show you that, just to let you know that They sent in the Marines. That's what I told them to do last night. Send in the Marines. Well, they did. They heard me. And they are sending in the Marines. They are sending in the Marines. By the way, this is Tom Tillis. Not a big fan of his in North Carolina, but in this case, me and Tom agree. Roll the tape.
How many illegal immigrants being deported by the new administration would you find objectionable? Mr. Melnick, I'll ask you. 1 million?
I think 1 million would be a disaster.
2 million?
I think that is enough that would have severe negative ramifications.
I'm not reading what Trump intends to do. I'm reading exactly what President Barack Obama did. So you said President Obama was immoral and inappropriate to deport those 1 million people. Is that what I heard you say?
There were many people that were
It's a
deported
yes, no
under his
question.
administration
You
that should
can't
not
be-
have been. Yes.
Look, I would really appreciate it to say, if you would go out on social media and say that the President Obama did a horrible disservice to those people he deported, and he's as wrong-minded as every other Republican who said we've got to secure the border, deport people, because you can't have one being okay and the other one not being okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did I just hear him say it's you can't say one's okay and the other's not okay? I'll actually agree with that. Is this no? That's not the one I want to play. I'm trying to find my. Let's see here. Is this the one? Is this the one?
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's elementary. I know Jenny Casey's out there, or Jenny Castlenov's laughing at that one tonight. Now, if I would have been Tom Tillis and said that to the guy, this is what I would have said.
Understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Now, I've got a video. I went and tried to do this today in my own words, in my own mouth, in my own... trying to think which one it was. Oh, Lord have mercy, Jesus. I've just been in a weird mood this week. It must be this cold weather. But anyway, I tried to do the Chris Tucker thing. I tried to do it in his tone. I'll play it for it before the night's out. All right, let me go back. Let me move on. Point being taken. They're going bye-bye, folks. They're going back home. Now, speaking of President Trump, he is in North Carolina tonight. And I'm going to talk more about the Right to Life March. I want to talk about North Carolina and California. President Trump went to North Carolina today to pledge support to the North Carolinians that got affected by Hurricane Helene. 4 months has passed, 4. Many of those people have been sleeping in tents. Some of them ain't even been having the decency, or not the decency, but the fortune, I should say, to sleep in tents. There are many of them that have been homeless, lost everything they had. He basically called out the North Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance Company, but he didn't do it. He was brilliant, and I'm going to get to you Californians next. But he was brilliant because he had the North Carolina citizens call him out. Another example of him, and by the way, Melania was with him. Did we not have a classy first lady or what? By the way, I will tell you what Marcia Montenegro said about all this hand signal craziness that's going on. All these people concerned about whether Melania's wearing hats and stuff. Marcia Montenegro is going to burn the house down come February the 5th on UQ folks. So you may like the McFiles tonight, but I think after February the 5th, you may not like us a lot. Because Marcia Montenegro, I had a long talk with her tonight about some of this stuff, and she's said what I would have said. But anyway, I will let her do that in February. I didn't mean to get off track there, but Melania, our classy first lady, was with him today. This is President Trump basically telling a audience and using a North Carolina citizen to do it about the situation in North Carolina, because the insurance companies are not doing right by the citizens of North Carolina, and President Trump ain't too happy about it, as he shouldn't be, and neither are you North Carolinians, as you shouldn't be. Roll the tape.
Before the structural engineer even came out in order to get our flood payout. And to me, that was not really acceptable.
Has the insurance company been responsive or not really?
Not so much. You know, again,
Give you the money they have to give you?
I'm hoping so. And we need some assistance with that. We reached out to an attorney.
What's the name of the insurance company?
North Carolina Farm Bureau.
You got them moving, right?
Yep,
That's terrible.
that's what we're after
A
here.
lot
So
of people having that problem too, with the insurance companies, general, pretty much. Different insurance companies, and they're all difficult, or just the one particular one?
I've heard different stories from others, and
David Harris Jr., who was a good guy, he said President Trump just made sure the world, you got to love this, folks. I'm telling you, man, Trump's in 5 days, Trump is, the poor elites, and even Comer tonight told Jamie Raskin to his face, he told him to his face, he said, you Democrats need to get a shrink because you're 5 days in, and this Trump derangement syndrome ain't going away for any time soon. And he told Raskin, and he told the whole Democrat Party, you better buckle up, and you better pucker up, and you better get used to this, because we're just getting started, and you better pace yourself. Something we said last night. But he called out the North Carolina Farm Bureau because they refused to pay this guy's home that was destroyed. Joe could have done this, folks. Joe Biden could have been over there doing this. Joe never visited North Carolina one time, to my knowledge, unless he flew over, looked at it, but he never, ever, ever, ever got on the ground and talked to any of those people in North Carolina. And the only reason he went to California, and I can't remember this, I don't want to speak, but I don't think that it was just about Gavin Newsom, and it was one day, it was a 10-minute press conference for a selfie, and to handshake Newsom, but nothing was done to help California either. This is a precedent in action. That's what I told Jason today from Long Island. I said, you know, we got a president again. We've got a functioning government. And that's what I sensed today in that crowd, that people are relieved. They are actually going to bed at night, sleeping well, that Donald Trump's in power. And I sleep a lot better too. I do. But we're going to follow this. But I want to tell you, North Carolinians, help is on the way. I heard tonight that Trump has suspended all federal aid for 90 days. We're not giving money to any other country for 90 days. You know why? He is going to, he says, until we fix the situations that have been affected in Florida by these hurricanes, North Carolina, and California, and there was one other state that he mentioned, but those 3 states, he said, we are going to take the foreign aid that we've been giving other foreign countries. So, by the way, Mr. Fruity Cake in Ukraine, you ain't getting your billion from us anymore. Vladimir Putin had something to say tonight about the Ukraine war. I'll play for you in a minute. But Trump, you got to love him. No more foreign aid for 90 days. It should have been done all along. Because the money, folks, that we sank into this fraudulent war with Russia and Ukraine, and it is a fraudulent war. It is a fraudulent war. It's always been fraudulent. We could have rebuilt North Carolina. We could have put a new state on the map. We could have put a new state in California with the money that's been wasted by this previous government. Viva President Trump. Viva President Trump. Viva President Trump. It's about time, John. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Way to go, President Trump. Now, speaking of the situation, as I've just mentioned, he went to California, and this is what he has basically told California, that you ain't getting any money either until you do certain things. Wow. Responsibility. In other words, we don't give you money and hand it out like cotton candy just so you can take it and protect a snail dart with it. Or you can hire DEI people that are running your government into the ground. Or you can put a transgender in front of kindergartners, because we got to be Equitable. Roll the tape.
So I want two things. I want voter ID for the people of California, and they all want it. Right now you don't have voter ID. People want to have voter identification. You want to have proof of citizenship. Ideally, you have one-day voting, but I just want voter ID as a start, and I want the water to be released, and they're going to get a lot of help from the U.S. Thank you very much. I'll see you in a little while. We'll see you at the...
I'm going to play that again. I want you to listen carefully to what he told California tonight. Now, he did this right before he left from Asheville. He's telling Newsom and Bass, and by the way, he took Bass to school today. Bass actually behaved herself. She said, you can scold me all you want to and hold me accountable. Wow. Newsom, he's still, I think there's pieces of Gavin Newsom's backside still being found on the Pacific shoreline tonight after Trump probably chewed it out like he should have. But he's telling you Californians, and I love you people, it's not about the people, I'm talking to the government. I want to make sure that's understood tonight. We're not scolding the people. It's not the people's fault totally, other than the fact you put these leaders over you in Southern California. I ran into a couple that was a husband and wife and their daughter in the elevator. They came here this week, and I got in the elevator with them, and the guy said, I need your gloves, man. He said, it's too cold here. And I said, sure. And I getting ready to pull them off jokingly to hand him to him. And he laughed. I said, where are you guys from? He said, California. And I jumped. I said, California? I said, what y'all doing here? And he said, we're from Southern California. Do you have to ask? And I said, no, I get it. But Trump is telling California tonight that for you to get federal aid from us, you're going to have to ID your voters. Wow. Wow. And not only that, he mentioned the one-day voting thing. That's a bill that's being tossed around in Congress that this crap that California pulled about counting votes 2, 3, 4 weeks after the election is going to stop. You are going to have the votes counted by 11 o'clock or 12 midnight the night of the election, or you don't get your vote counted. That's going to put a stop to what we call voter fraud and election fraud in California. And the water is going to be released. Viva Trump. Viva Trump. Viva Trump. You Californians going to go red. You Californians going to go red. You're 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 going to go red. Here's Vladimir Putin. You got to love Vlad. I got something to say about this. Watch this.
If he had been the president, if the victory wasn't stolen from him in 2020, maybe the Ukrainian crisis that arose in 2022 would have never appeared.
I want you to hear that. And folks, please affirm only. We don't need you scolding anybody. That's my job here tonight. Listen, he's saying that the Ukraine war never would have started if the 2020 election wasn't stolen from Trump. Vladimir Putin. So Facebook, YouTube, all you censor trigger happy people that censor all of us for saying the 2020 election was stolen. Well, Chris ain't saying that. The president of Russia is saying that. But you know what he's saying? It's what we've all been saying. This war would have never happened under a Trump watch. And I'll be the first to tell you tonight, folks, this thing with Trump, he would not have the power to he would not have had the power to do what he's doing in 5 days if he'd have been reelected in 2020. That's God's providence. That's God's mercy. That's God's foresight. That's God's omniscience, all-knowing. God knew that. I don't want to get started on these prophets tonight. We're going to deal with that on a Sunday night. All this stupidity. Me and Marcia had a great talk tonight about some of this stupidity in the church. She's got a brand new book out. It's called Spellbound. Can't wait to show it to you. We're going to order a case from her. It's an older book she wrote, and they've re-released it. She's updated it. It's good stuff. It's about your kids. But it's also about you spiritual kids out there. You need to read it because the church is under a spell tonight, but I don't want to get off on that. But Vladimir Putin is saying, folks, he recognizes the fact that if Trump would have been in office, this war would have never happened. The conditions that caused this war would have been avoided. So I know that you don't trust Putin no more than you can throw him, and I don't trust him either. But I will tell you this, folks. I've never thought Putin was the bad guy that the left has made him out to be. He's not. Do you realize tonight, folks, that there's more religious freedom in Russia than during the Biden administration there was here in America? I talked to people over there. I've talked to people that live in Russia, Christians, Americans that have lived in Moscow, and they were living in Moscow. I have one such gentleman that we were on their radio network here for about 6 months back in 22 or 21. And before we got sick, so it's probably been late 2020. But anyway, he told me, he said that the greatest persecution on Christians was not coming from the government in Russia anymore. He said Putin pretty much had allowed the Christians to express their faith, even though the government of Russia is agnostic and they're atheists. The government was not hauling people out into the wee hours of the morning, the KGB, and taking you to a concentration camp because you worship Christ. He said the persecution in Russia was from the Russian Orthodox Church. He said there was persecution from within the ranks of the religious environment there. But he said Vladimir Putin pretty much let the Christians worship. He's not the evil, that people have made him out to be. Now, is he the choir boy and the Boy Scout that the right has made him out to be? He ain't that either. I don't trust him. He ain't got America's interest at heart. You can't believe a word's coming out of his mouth. But in this case, I do believe him. I do believe that. Curious what you will think. We'll get your thoughts shortly. We're almost done, and then we're going to let you talk, and then I'm going to get out of here tonight. Couple of things more. By the way, where is that? Where is that at? I wanted to show you. This is the headline about Trump. This is off of a Instagram page that we found tonight. Trump has signed a 90-day pause on all foreign aid. Tennessee, too, because Tennessee had some damage from that hurricane. Florida, North Carolina, Tennessee, and California citizens are taking care of. Bill Lee, our governor, who I really appreciate. I don't agree with everything he does, but I appreciate Bill Lee. He went to North Carolina to meet Trump tonight, or this afternoon when he was in Asheville. And it's amazing how easy it is to help America first, and it's wonderful to see the money used to do it. That's North Carolina, folks. That's what it looks like, even now, 4 months later. And you know something, I have to tell you, as I was driving through the city today, there were certain areas of D.C. that looked just like that. A trash heap. And it's just like the city don't care. It's just like the city hasn't cared for 4 years what it looks like. And I thought to myself, this is going to get cleaned up. Trump will make a difference here. It will change. This will change. It won't be a trash heap no more. And that was the sense I got today, too. It was a whole different atmosphere. And I was telling Marcia tonight, I said, I've not felt led to come here for 4 years. And I said, but today, I'm so glad I did. And I really was in the city. I said, it's been a brutal week weather-wise. But I said, honestly, I feel so encouraged. I felt blessed to be among those pro-lifers today, blessed to be at the Right to Life March. The people that were there, the audience, the people on the stage, some of them were grandstanding, and I don't like to see that in this movement. I just don't. It's not the time for grandstanding. We're either fighting for the babies or we're not. If we're fighting for social media exposure, if we're fighting for money, if we're fighting for sponsors, if we're fighting for something else, then we need to tear the Right to Life movement down and just let the people fight for the babies. Just let the people fight for the babies. But that's what D.C. looked like today. North Carolina, if you're listening to me, Elaine Willard, and other people that listen to us in North Carolina, help is on the way. Help is on the way. And I understand, I read one report somewhere, I don't know where it was, that President Trump has agreed, he agreed in principle today, that any North Carolina citizen that is without shelter and home, that he is personally, I think the Trump Foundation is going to build apartment houses or finance them to have apartments or hotel rooms or some kind of shelter immediately, that there's going to be none of this in the tent stuff no more, that they are going to put people up until further notice they don't have to pay a dime, and he will see to it that they are taken care of. Folks, that's a leader. That's a compassionate, righteous leader. That's what righteous leaders do. They do the right thing. They do the right thing. And I applaud him for that. I really do. It's just
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. It's just elementary, my dear Watson. It's just elementary, my dear Watson. One other quick thing that I want to show you tonight. This is Lauren Boebert. She was out there tonight complaining about the J6ers, and I'm glad she's doing it. A lot of these J6ers folks have not been released from jail. By the way, they were really high on President Trump today at the march for pardoning those 23 pro-life grandmothers. Do you realize that one of the, I don't know if you know the story about Tarlow, Peggy Tarlow, 78-year-old grandmother. Do you realize that that woman was in such poor health? It made me tear up when I heard the story today. Her husband, he begged the judge. He said, if you're going to send her to jail, he mocked her faith to her face. He mocked Christianity, that's bringing judgment on himself from heaven. But the husband said, she's in such poor health. Please, please, let me go to jail with her. Like, if you're going to put her in jail, put me in jail too. That's what I do. And he said, I'll take care of her because she's not going to be able to survive in there by herself, I'm afraid. He wouldn't do it. That's one of the ones President Trump pardoned today. But Lauren Boebert is concerned that the J6ers, many of them have been pardoned, but the Bureau of Prisons has not released them. Roll the tape.
The events of that day.
Amen.
I regret that the American people weren't allowed to know how many federal agents were present in the crowd. I regret that the tens of thousands of hours of footage that was recorded at the Capitol was not released immediately to the American public. I regret the livelihoods that were lost, the time that has been spent locked up unjustly, the amount of and defending oneself against something that they shouldn't have been had to defend.
Bear with us, folks. I don't know if you're still out there. We're going to have to re-sign on. I knew this was coming. Bear with us. Give me 1 minute, and we should be back online. Here we go. One more day here. Hang on. All righty. All righty. Are you out there? If you're out there, let us know. If you're out there, let us know. Say hello, somebody. Facebook, are you with me? Are you with me, Facebook? Are you with me, Facebook? Let me see here. Sorry about that. I knew that was coming. Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me? All righty. Let's see here. Yep. We're up to 233 tonight. I think we're back. We're okay. Okay. They didn't cut the feed. That's good. Sorry about that. We're back. That's Lauren Boebert. I'm going to play that again. I'm not sure if you heard her. She's concerned about the J6ers not being released from prison.
The events of that day.
Amen.
I regret that the American people weren't allowed to know how many federal agents were present in the crowd. I regret that the tens of thousands of hours of footage that was recorded at the Capitol was not released immediately to the American public. I regret the livelihoods that were lost, the time that has been spent locked up unjustly, the amount of time in court and on probation, and defending defending oneself against something that they shouldn't have been had to defend.
And she went on to say there later on in that video that, again, many of these J6ers have not been released. We're going to follow that story into next week. We've got some great new guests coming in the next few weeks. I'm really excited about Marsha coming back February the 5th. We've got Andy Griffin coming back next week. Brad Johnson, my dear buddy that I got to see this week, will be with us one night. Eric Karen, of course, James Akers will be back, and some other new guests. We got a lawyer friend down in Atlanta. He's going to come on and talk about the legality of a lot of this stuff. And it has been confirmed that Pete Hegseth is going to be your next Department of Defense head, 51-50. We'll take it. That's why elections matter. If that would have been Kamala Harris, he would have went down in defeat. So that's why elections matter. And we're grateful for that. We are grateful for that.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
Elementary, my dear Watson. It is elementary, my dear Watson. You know, I wanted to play some funny stuff, but I just ain't got nothing funny to play tonight. I will show you this. If you don't believe it was cold down south, I saw this on an Instagram page. Now, you Southerners, you understand rattlesnakes, and you understand I hate snakes. This picture even freaked me out. I can't stand snakes. There's just something about snakes Chris don't like. Dead, alive, small, big, whatever. But this picture, this is a moccasin. Look at this. It got so cold, that snake froze. That's only in Florida. Only in Florida. Look at this. Look at this. Wow. Only in Florida. Only in Florida. In Florida. In Florida. A few of you are getting a little chatty out there, and just hang on just for a minute or two. We will talk to you in just a second. Let's see here. A couple of other things. By the way, I want to mention this right here. All the women talking about elections who vote Democrat, 0 House Democrats voted to pass the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports. Republicans 219, Dems 0. One thing that Mike Johnson said today, I want to mention, and I didn't have the figure. The House passed a bill. The media didn't report on it. They won't report on it. The House passed a bill this week. If a baby survives an abortion, okay, and that baby, like, goes to term, that woman tries to abort it, and they take it out of the mother's womb, but the baby doesn't die from the abortion itself, and that baby comes out on that table, that baby is a child, a baby life, okay? Well, the House passed a bill that it is illegal to kill that baby post-abortion, okay? House has got 513 seats in it, folks. Now, you think about how chilling what I'm about to say to you is. We've only got like a 2-vote majority in the House. And out of the 217 Democrats, just one, voted for that bill. Mike Johnson said that today. He said, we passed it. But only one Democrat stood with the Republicans to say that's what we need to do. Democrats, I'm going to say something to you tonight. The American people are piss poor tired of you. And you can keep doing this stuff, and you can go into oblivion. You're standing up against things that are morally right. It's not a political issue to me. That's just morally right. That's acceptable. That's wickedness when you're telling me that it's okay, like Ralph Northam did. Well, if the baby survives the abortion, we just put it on the table and break its neck. Brad Johnson told me this Tuesday night. He said, or Wednesday night. He said, look, Chris, he said, these post-abortion things, he said, it's not just that. He said, they let these babies starve to death. And Mike Johnson mentioned that today. He said that a lot of these clinics, if the baby survives the abortion, they don't physically do nothing. They just let the baby sit on the table, freeze to death, and starve to death. Folks, that is wickedness and evil in the sight of God to a level that nobody can comprehend that. But you Dems, you voted for it. And you're going to own that. I've just gotten a new breath of fresh air this week. I just feel like letting it all hang out. You Dems are going to pay a price for that. You mark my word. You're going to pay a price for it.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
You may not pay a price in your liberal, godless districts, but there's a God in heaven. I want you to explain that vote to him. please explain that vote. You may get away with it to MSNBC. By the way, MSNBC and CNN may not be around much longer. They had to lay off hundreds and hundreds. NBC, hundreds today. I saw my representative buddy Tim Burchett tell Acosta the other night that people are watching the Cartoon Network more than they're watching CNN. They're watching McDonald more than they're watching CNN. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. But anyway. All righty. I'm done. Goodness gracious. And folks, if you got a problem with the sound, just refresh. You don't have to give us a play-by-play. We understand. We just told you we had a reboot. It's Friday night. Chris is just in one of these movies. Hey, I want to tell you about this shirt. ProLifeMan.org. Andy Griffin gave me this shirt, I guess 4 years ago. And when I met him, and I was proud to wear it today during the march, underneath my winter coat, though. It was cold. But I want to thank Andy Griffin, and I want to thank Carl and Nicole. This show was sort of wandering in the wilderness for a couple of years as we, in 2018 and 2019 and 2020, we were sort of trying to find our way. And if you give me 5 minutes, I promise I'm going to get to all your comments, and you can say whatever you want to say, and I'll read it. We were sort of wandering in the wilderness. I didn't really know what we were doing. The identity, we were trying to find our identity, I guess is what is the best way to put it. I didn't know if we wanted to be a political show. I didn't know if we wanted to be a faith show. I didn't know if we wanted to do both. And I really was having a identity crisis, and I just wasn't sure where we were going. We were having big numbers because we had a bunch of crap on this network, and people listen to crap. And I'll be the first to tell you that we did. And people like listening to crap. But there was something that happened that day in Washington, D.C. in 2020, in January 2020, before the election. I ran into Andy Griffin. I never will forget it. I walked up to him, and I saw his booth. And he had that board, no longer silent. And I said, "What's this?" I introduced myself. He said, "These are all the men that have pledged that they will not be silent about abortion." And I said, "Andy, I want to sign my name to that." I think I've got a picture of that somewhere here if I can find it. I've got a picture. Let's see here if I can find that. Let's see here. Did I download that? I thought I downloaded it. I'll find it. I want to show it to you because it changed my life. We had it at one time. I should have already downloaded it tonight. I signed my name, and I remember as I was signing my name, the presence of God came upon me. I started weeping right there in front of Andy. Tears started coming in my eyes. And I realized that that day, probably more than any other day, that I had a voice. And we were using this voice for stuff that didn't matter to a hill of blanking beans up to that point. And I made a promise to God that day. And I looked at Andy Griffin, and I said, "You count me in that we're not going to be silent no more about these babies. We're not going to be silent ever again." And I said, "We've not been vocal enough to defend life." And I remember that the show changed that day. The focus changed. And 1 year later, we had the debacle of the election, and God reinforced that to me. I told Marcia this testimony tonight at the table. I said, "Marcia, we were probably 70-30 politics to faith before the election of 2020. And I said, that day I was going home from this city. I said, I wasn't sure if we were going to be here because people had left. People were dropping like flies because the election didn't go the way that they thought, and prophets had told them falsely there would be a win, and it wasn't a win, and people put their faith in prophetic words instead of putting their faith in God and walking in faith and walking in soberness and a sound mind. And we had a mass exodus of people and a mass exodus of financial support. We had a mass exodus of subscribers. People got so disillusioned, and prophets went into hiding. They didn't stand up and take responsibility for what they were saying. We were left holding the bag, pretty much. And I was asking God that day, Lord, what do? I don't know what we're going to do. And I never will forget the gentle, small voice that calmed my heart that day coming home. And the Lord told me, He said, turn their attention to me. And it's the same presence in that car that I felt a year before when I was standing with Andy Griffin on that chalkboard and putting my name down and saying, we're not going to be silent. And I want to make a new commitment tonight on this January the 24th of 2025. We still, I believe, as a network, have not done enough to bring to the attention of the nation the awful sin and the awful ugliness and the awful evil of killing these babies. And I want to make a commitment publicly to you tonight, and a public commitment to God. He's hearing me say it. That this coming year, we are not going to be silent about the evil of abortion. It's not going to be some kind of self-righteous rant and self-righteous, and I see people do this, and there was some of that even in the crowd today, that people it makes them feel good to condemn the mother and condemn the doctor and condemn the abortionist and all that. This ain't about condemnation to me. What it's about is about the baby. It is about the life of that unborn child. And folks, if we can't fight for the most innocent among us, then we've got no moral ground to fight for anybody else and to say a word about the state of this nation. We don't have a right to condemn Joe Biden. We don't have a right to condemn Kamala Harris. We can rail on the Dems all we want to. If we're sitting back and being solid ourselves, we've got no moral right, no moral clarity to say a word about anything. Because this is where it starts. We either stand up for what's right, and we stand up with clarity. See, that's what scares me with this religious movement of this country. It scares me with the spiritual movement. I told someone this week, the church is what's standing in the way of revival. Do you realize that? The church is so caught up right now with hand signals, so caught up with Melania's color of her glove. It's so caught up with Melania Trump's hat, her eyelashes, her mascara. It's so caught up with whether Eric Trump was given an Illuminati signal. It's so caught up with symbolism. That's the church tonight. I got to say this, and Catholics, I want to give you some kudos. You may think I hate you. I actually respect you deeply. That crowd today was 90% Catholic. It's 90% Catholic. Jason, the guy I stood with, he was from a Catholic organization in Long Island, and they had thousands, tens. I don't know how much in that crowd was there, but he told me, he said, our group is down here in force. And there were thousands and thousands of them with signs standing up for the babies. And Carla Nicole told me this back in 2020 when I walked with her that day. And she said, look at the crowd. And she says, the Protestants are not here. She said, we begged and 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 we have begged Protestant pastors in this nation to come stand and march with us here in D.C. They refuse to do it. They don't have the time. But yet they'll get on their pulpit of high horse and try to be a social media guru and a social media sensation and a TikTok sensation with their little snippet of faith. But they don't put action with their words, and they don't speak for the unborn. And I'm going to say it tonight, folks. If the church don't find its footing on this and moral clarity on this, this nation is eternally doomed. Make no mistake about it. I don't care what kind of golden age people think is coming. If we cannot protect the unborn, there is no America. If we cannot protect children from pedophilia, there is no America. If we cannot hold people accountable for murder, there is no America. And that's a spiritual issue. It's not a political football that we've made it to be. But I want to make a commitment to you tonight in this coming year. God hears me say it, and I pray God strike this network down if we don't do it. I do. This is our motto for this year. More than we've ever done. I pray to God that we're not silent in the face of evil. Because to be silent in the face of evil, you are complicit with that evil. God help me tonight, we're not going to be that way. And I pray that you'll join me on this journey. I pray that you'll join me on this journey. All righty. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. You got something to say? Say it. You got something to say? Say it. Questions? Questions? Anything? Chris Davis says, what are the Democrats going to say when they stand in front of God? I don't know what they're going to say, Chris, but it ain't just the Democrats, Chris. I want to tell you, this is not a Democrat thing to me. I know what you're saying. It's not a Democrat. It's Republicans, too. Republicans we've got full sway of the Congress right now. We've had full sway of the Congress before. I remember when Bush Jr. came in, we had the House and the Senate. We did nothing to stop abortion. We've done nothing. The only thing Bush Jr. did, to his credit, there was a partial birth abortion bill that he passed, which basically means sort of what this post-abortion bill Johnson had on the table with the House this week. But the partial birth abortion is that if that baby was partially born, you could not kill it. You could not kill it. And I want to say it passed, but I think that there was something that happened that was struck down by a judge later. And we have been fighting for footing on that for 20 years. Well, 2003, what is this, 25? We've been fighting for our footing again for 22 years. We've been fighting for our footing for 22 years. I don't know what they're going to say. I'm not their judge. I'm not their judge. And Chris, look, I appreciate the comment, but I think we all better ask ourselves the question, what are we going to say? Because I'm going to tell you something. If we're silent and we're not doing nothing to help the pro-life cause and we're not standing for these babies, we're just as guilty. We're just as guilty. Our silence is worse than even the baby killing. And it's deafening. I'm going to ask all you profit chasers and all you popcorn eaters that all you do is sit around and get your latest fix from the telegram rooms and your latest fix. Have you heard these prophets condemn abortion? Have you heard any of them tear into this baby killing mill other than trying to liken it to some kind of Q conspiracy talk and they've got to have their talking point once in a while to make you think that they're concerned about it, but they tie it into this Q nonsense and this ritual, which is a ritual, but they don't even themselves, but they don't do nothing to stand and decry it. They do it for attention. They can't even decry the crimes against Israel. They can't even protect Israel. They can't even stand up for the Jewish people. And let me tell you something. If you can't stand up for a race of people, folks, it's by, if you look at the equitable thing, it's the same argument. The Germans told the world in the 30s that the Jews were not human, and the left has convinced the world today that the babies are not human. They're just fetus tissue. If you can't stand up for one group, you're not going to stand up for the other. It's amazing. That's pretty wise talk coming from a South Georgia boy. I'll amen myself. I'll amen myself. Jeannie Casanova said Catholics predominantly on Long Island are the ones filling ads, sending buses to D.C. for the March of Life. Jeannie, they are, and I salute them. I told Jason today, look, I don't agree with the thing, hardly, of the doctrinal stance of the Catholic Church, but I will tell you this, on this issue, they have my deepest, utmost respect because there were, as I said, I would say thousands, tens of, I don't know how many the crowd will come out to be, there was at least 10,000 people there, at least that. But I will tell you this, I did not see too many Protestant groups. And you know the other thing that was so special today, and I mentioned it in one of the videos, the young people. The young people. I didn't see a lot of older people at this. A lot of these kids were in their 20s, teenagers, young people marching with signs, praying for the babies, colleges, bringing entire student groups down there. I didn't see any of these mega churches. I might as well, can I meddle for just one time tonight? Can I just meddle for 5 minutes? I didn't see any of Joel Osteen's church down there. I didn't see T.D. Jakes' church down there. I didn't see any groups down there from the Protestant world, these big name pastors. I didn't see anybody with a prophet shirt on saying, hey, I'm down here to stand for the baby. No, we're too busy getting our fix. And the babies are dying. And America's dying with it. Jeannie, I'm going to tell you something. I have a lot of respect for the Catholics when it comes to this. I've just never understood. And Carla Nicole and me, we're going to talk about it next week. She's going to be with me next week, I think. Yeah, she's going to be with me one night next week, too. Where's Protestants? I don't know. I can't answer that question. Good point. Mary Cleveland says, I love how Trump told the mayor and senators in California exactly what he expected from them regarding people being allowed to rebuild. I think the mayor was unhappy with him. You know, Mary, I disagree with that a little bit. She may have been unhappy with him, but your point is well taken. He did tell him what he expected, but there was a part of her that I think realizes that this is over her head. And if she don't get federal help, LA ain't going to be on the map, because she sure ain't going to get it from Sacramento. And I think Karen Bass, to a degree today, understood that. And I think that she realizes that Trump, she may not agree with Trump, she may hate Trump's guts underneath her breath, but she needs Trump. She needs him. And she may be unhappy with him, but I think that she saw the light today. And I think Karen Bass, and she would never admit it in 10 million years, this is just an opinion, I think she realized today, probably hit her, wow, Trump's been in office 5 days and he's been down here. Joe Biden's been in office for 4 years. It took Joe 2 weeks to get to California when these fires were burning everything to the freaking ground. Trump ain't been sworn into office since Monday. It's 4 days. He's already gone to California, North Carolina, and basically got on the ground telling them, this is what we're going to do to help you, but this is what you got to do. So I'm with you. Your statement is correct. I appreciate him telling them what they were supposed to do. I don't think that she was as unhappy with him as you may think. She may not like him politically, but she's got to have him. She needs his help. Carol Smith says, it seems that Satan has captured the minds of pro-choice people with lies. My body, my choice. Let me say this, Carol, he's captured the mind of the church, too. It's not just pro-choice people. I go back to what I said. The church is absolutely silent. The Protestant church is absolutely silent. This event today, do you realize, this, folks, watching these folks today, I look at this, why do we just do this one time a year? This probably should be done every month. We should be doing one of these somewhere every month. We probably need to be organizing this in our states every month. It's like this is the thing that I've seen in this little movement. And again, this is not a criticism, but this is the state of affairs. Why is it that we do this once a year? That we come together and we get our conscience soothed, and then after today we go home to our respective homes and we go home to our respective states, and we don't talk about abortion for another year. And nothing is done to stop it. Because it's still a problem in this country. The states some of these blue states are trying to export it into these red states. And until that abortion mill is destroyed and Planned Parenthood is defunded, that was a theme today too, And until it is unattainable, I think the words were unattainable, unthinkable, and I can't think of the other word that they use today. That's why we march. That's why we march. But we don't need to be doing it just once a year. I'm with you on your point. I get your point. But I'm going to tell you, we don't need to just be doing this once a year. And the pro-choice people, it's not just the pro-choice people that Satan's got befoozled. Because there's a lot of pastors that have got their mouth shut because they're scared to death to get in their pulpit and say anything about it, because half their church, probably who are liberals in nature, will get up and walk out. And they'll take their money with them. That's what I believe. Let's see here. Laura says, is Trump going to help the people in Hawaii too? You know, Laura, I hope. I'm sure that's on the table. I'm sure that's on the table. I do. I'm sure it's on the table. And so forth. We had several people leave us tonight because of the internet stuff, and that's fine, but we're grateful for those of you. We're going to be going just a few more minutes here. We've been going an hour and 24. I got 6 minutes. 6 minutes. Friday night. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Any other statements? Any other questions? This is your time. When I'm talking, everybody wants to talk. When I give you your chance to talk, nobody wants to say anything. Good to see you, Deanna Salem. Good to see you. She says I'm the Mac Man. Char says the Catholic churches in Florida are what? Help Amendment 4 not pass. Char, I'm so glad you brought that up. Ron DeSantis talked about that today. Now, for those of you that don't know what Amendment 4 is, it was basically an amendment that would have basically give the green light to kill babies in Florida. And thank you, Char. He didn't call the Catholic Church out by name, but I was aware that the Catholic Church had a lot to do with the fact that Florida was able to keep abortion out of the state. And on top of that, DeSantis, I want to say, and Char, you can help me with this, I think y'all got a heartbeat bill that was passed, and he even admitted today, Florida's not a pro-life state. He said, we've got a lot of people down here who don't believe in pro-life. But he kept to his guns. And you know what he said today? He said not one single legislator that stood up for life has been beat in an election. Not one of them went down in defeat when they were up for re-election after this amendment passed, because people on the media were screaming, you're going to lose your election. The people of Florida is going to hold you accountable. All this mess. You're going to be held accountable by the state for this. Not one of them lost the election, and Ron DeSantis didn't lose his election. He won by the biggest margin of any Republican in Florida's history when he beat that meth-induced, I don't know, what was Andrew Gilliam? Was he bi? The meth-induced bi guy. Yeah. That's what they put up there. Anyway. You're right. Sure. Good job. When the righteous rule, the people rejoice, Carol. That's well said. Let's see here. Eva Edel, who is 89, was pardoned today. Yes, Liz, that is correct. She was another one. Babies are murdered while people have their itching ears scratched by false prophets and false teachers, all the while they bash Trump. You know, that's true, Chris. They do. They do. There's a lot of Trump bashing in that same movement. And, you know, and the way they bash Trump is not necessarily they come out and openly bash him, but what they do, they throw shade. They claim these symbols are evil, and this hand gesture that he did, he winked his eye the wrong way, or he had a hat on today, or he had some kind of pin on his jersey. I talked to Marcia about that tonight, and I'm going to save her fire. I don't want to take her thunder, but she's got a lot to say about it. And Marcia Montenegro would know, because she used to be an astrologist. She used to be in the occult, and she knows about a lot of this. I don't want to say what she said tonight, but we're going to burn it to the ground February the 5th. And we're going to be happy doing it. We're going to be happy doing it.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary, my dear Watson. All right, it looks like I'm out of questions. So, since I'm out of questions, I am going to, let's see what I can do here tonight. We'll post some pictures. By the way, speaking of Miss Marsha Montenegro, this is a dear lady. I really appreciate her, and I'm really excited to read her book, and we'll give you some details on it. But there she is right there, and she was such a dear heart to come out tonight. It's freezing cold up here. It was good to see her, and she is Christian Answers of the New Age, or forthenewage.com, New Age Answers for Christians. There's a website. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but we'll show you that. Now, I did my Jeannie Castellanova. If you're out there, I don't even know what these say, but I did some new ones for you today, just for you, Jeannie. And I figured that since this is Friday night and we're in a Trump mood, let me see what these are. These are just some new ones that we'll have to try out on the audience. Now, if these bomb, it's okay. Chris is used to bombing. I'm used to bombing, and this is the McFiles. Like I told Marcia tonight, my kids even, I say, hey, do you listen to the show? And they're like, no. Somebody walks up to my sons. Hey, is your dad the host of the McFiles? I don't know who you're talking about. My nephew. Isn't your uncle the guy that hosts the McFiles? I have no idea what you're talking about. So it's okay. We're used to bombing. Watch this. Oh, I'm going to play that. There's James Bond. I'm going to play that one for Johnson next time he's on. He's been wanting a spy thing, so I made that for him. We're going to play that next time he's on this week.
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Very well said. That's a wise thing. Let's see if this one's it.
Bond.
No, that's another one. I'm going to do that for Johnson. Just having a little fun. We're about to wrap it up. Just hold your horses. I know you're ready to go, and it's all right. We're going to let you go here. I think this is
Bond.
it. No, that's it. That's just the Bond thing when two different outfits. I do like that Boulder hat. Here is, I think this is the one, Jeannie, that I did.
Bond.
No, that ain't it either. Okay. I tried to do the one with, do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? And in my own words.
It's showtime.
It's showtime. I'm going to find that one, Jeannie. And I will play it for you when I get it. Maybe this is it. I'll try this one. One final time. If this ain't it, I'm quitting. I'm quitting tonight because I don't want to keep holding you over. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? There we go. Now I need to do it louder. Let me play that again. I didn't do it as good as Chris Tucker, but I look sharper in the hat. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do you like that? Do I get a thumbs up in the house for that? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do you understand that the words are coming out of my mouth? That is a poor attempt. My poor attempt to be funny. I never am funny.
Elementary, my dear Watson.
It's elementary. I hope you've enjoyed the show tonight. Prayers for President Trump. I want to thank every one of you that helped us get up here to D.C. We leave D.C. tomorrow. We head home. And we'll be back with you Sunday morning. We may come on tomorrow night with a gospel sing. I know we normally do but one, but we may just do an extra one just for the road, just to put one ahead of an extra credit one. Depends on how we feel tomorrow night, have one get back. But I want to thank everyone that helped us with the donations to come. I truly do. It was a beautiful day today in D.C. It was cold. Some great, beautiful people we got to stand with to March for Life. And we will be back here. We got some announcements coming up. We'll talk about those Sunday. And may the Lord bless you out there tonight. We love you all. Did you enjoy the show tonight? Put some fire in that house, and we're grateful for you. And I will see you back here over the weekend with the Faith Network from Ground Zero from Washington, D.C. Have a good night, everybody. Be blessed out there. Thank you all for joining us, and may the Lord bless you. And thank you all that marched today in the Right to Life March. We were there for you all. We marched for the McFiles, and we marched for the life of the babies. And we were there to represent all of you. And God bless you. God bless this nation. God bless my beautiful wife, Kathy McDonald. God bless this great nation of America. All of you, my family. Thank you all for being with me on this journey. We love you all, and we'll see you back here over the weekend. Chris McDonald saying good night from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Please pray for America, folks. God bless you guys.